Anyways, so I'll pass it on to Ken and Sophie.
So I'm a French speaker, but I will try to make sure that you can follow me, okay? So yeah, we did a trip to the Sea of Cortez, which was wonderful, and we're about to share about it. Why do we share about it? It's because it was so beautiful, and it's really something we recommend. We wish to go back again. We did that in November 2023, at the end of November, beginning of December. We did it with the school, so we registered to a school, and the goal was to, we already have done some level of expertise, like ASA level, and we decide, let's go and do it American-wise and redo some that we did already and add more. And more, closer. It really feel in my face, that thing. Just gonna go down a bit. Okay, so it was a good deal. My husband is good to find some treasure. He found that, and we went. So it's the Sea of Cortez sailing that we use, just for people who knows, but there's a lot of school around the Sea of Cortez, and I'm sure they all offer something really good. It was an expert instructor that was important for me. I wanted someone that was confident. We were doing the essay 101, 103, 104. All meals were included, and it was navigating in open waters on a mono hull. So that was exactly where we were, in between there, in the little bay there. Don't know what to do with that. Yeah, right there. Okay, I was there. So, but we land at first about there, and then we travel inside the land to go there. So just to show you exactly that bay, it's at La Paz, and the destination presented what Espiritu Santo, Isla Partida, Isla El Partito, and Isla San Francisco. And you see the little boat traveling up there and down. That was the trip. And it was for, oh, that's the transportation, because of course, from here, it's quite an excursion to go there. And we found out some plane, but there was some stop. It was easier to go, longer to come back. That's how it happened. And I put the numbers on how it cost for the transportation only. Sailing condition, November is hurricane season, but if you compare with some other destination, it's supposed to be less bad because of the mountain around the water. It's supposed to help. So that was our the way we managed to say, yes, we go. And then we arrived there. The first scene we saw was that. If you can, and this is only few pictures, there was way more. I had to select the one that I'm going to share with you. There was so many boats wrecked when we arrived there. I was a bit scared, but of course Norma was gone. It was finished, right? So it was a category 4 major hurricane, so that's why you can tell. A lot of interesting thing. And Ken was walking there to see and assessing damages. Then we took up our courage and we decided to do something fun that first night. Oh, this is the one I didn't want to check. Just a second. I'm going to make fun of myself, not of my husband. This is me, okay? So you will see me there, and I'm having some let's relax moment. And this is called the Melesson. And at night, there's some palm tree, the sea just beside, and you can have fun with those. And it's pretty amazing. And when you pedal that, you exercise, right? And you also go along with people around, kids around. They really think it's funny. And I actually had a lot of fun. Okay, so I'm not going to play it completely because it's not about pedaling tonight. So, we did see a lot of nice things, a lot of cactus, a lot of nice feature that we're not used to see here. And let's see. Oh, I'm going backwards, sorry. Okay, big cactus, as you can see. So the morning we were aiming towards the boat. We walked 5K from the hotel I reserved to the marina. The Costa Baja hotel up there was where our destination was. And we start about at the middle of the path. So we had already walked 5K on other nights, but the 5K in the morning was that one, Sunday morning. And then we went for a little lunch, and then we end up, oh, I'm really doing backward. Okay. Again, big cactus was quite impressive. Then we arrived at that nice marina, Costa Baja, and we met at that cafe. We didn't know how many people would be on the boat. So we were the two of us. There was one other girl from UK, and there was the instructor. We were quite lucky. So just happened because that, I guess, Norma scared the others, I don't know. And then this is the instructor, Abraham Levy. If you don't know that guy, you may want to look up his achievement. He did cross the ocean on a little boat like that, on the middle one there, like this one. And he crossed the Atlantic on it, and it's quite a pirate, I would say. Interesting. Oh yeah, he teach us how to speak Windish, which is different. Then on the sailing boat we had was a rental boat. He had lost his own on the hurricane before, but for the school anyway, I think he always rent. And it was a Dufour 46, 4 cabins, 4 bathroom, capacity of 8, and we were 4. Comfortable generator, eating, avionics, Starlink, Wi-Fi, snorkeling gear. And we could have also dived, but we just didn't go. We only had 5 days. So we were on board to cook, clean, study, behave, be responsible, non-smoker, and no drug. And we accept to the photo release because he's promoting his project. And no health limitation, of course, that was the rule. What else? He was taking care of everything he bought, and the fridge was full and everything was easy. There was also a person who was vegetarian and we were not, so we were like double cooking every day. Well, that was really great. And then, so the water there, how is it about navigation? We use paper charts, we use GPS, we use Navionics, who was free for a certain time, so we use it. And the tide range, what about it? Big tide range, yeah. They say stay vigilant. So we learn about the tides. We had a book to check the tides according to the dates where we were. And we were there to learn. So everything about sailing was also test. We had exam to test everything. You can see there La Paz on the bottom. So we went out there, and then those are the island. So you can see about the deepness that we face. And what else to say? He's going to talk more about that later. water depth, about 30, 40 feet where we were anchoring, and never had any problem with the draft, even where we were, even if we were on a beach anchoring, it was easy. Much deeper than the Bahamas, if some of you are used with the Bahamas. There's no much assistance when you're on that kind of water. You have to be quite self-reliant. People help each other, though. We saw people, and they were nice, and it's easy to get, I guess, but we didn't have any problem. Okay, let's put it that way. That's the plan of the school, what they gave you. It doesn't mean it will happen that way, but they do have a plan ahead, and we adapt along the way with whatever happens. So the slide will be available after if ever you want to look at it. Landscape. This is the most beautiful part, and I'm going to show you a live vision of that. And I think we're going to have sound. And in one click, you're going to be falling in love, I'm pretty sure. So this is beautiful. The mountain that you see there, it's uninhabited, and it's really, really imposing on you. It's surrounding you. And you can stop anywhere. Oh, that's, yeah, there's a little thing behind there. Yeah. So, I made it a short video. Keep going. So, your turn.
Okay. Okay. Hello. Hi. So, which is back?
Bottom going forward.
Oh, no, it's not. Yeah, bottom. So, yeah, it's a very interesting area. As you can see when the pointer is the red.
Yeah.
We started from about here. La Paz, the town, is down here where this narrow area is, and there's like 3 marinas, and one way down here, one about there, and one way up here. So we started from there, and you don't see the final place that we went on this map. But so we have 5 nights, 6 days of it. So we covered a fair amount of territory with that. With the landscape there, what Sophie covered, is that would probably, well, not close enough, sorry. What it reminds you of when you're there, I've never been there, but it looks like pictures I've seen of the Grand Canyon. And there's a reason it is because it really is an extension of the same land. So it layers and layers and layers and layers going up, except here it's on the sea instead of on a river. And it's very spectacular. Those are very far away. When we're sailing a distance, you're going on and on and on. You think you're going to get closer, but they're still very far away. When we start, so we started from there. Oh, I'm going the right.
Bottom of
Bottom one? I'm sorry, going the wrong direction.
You'll get there.
Okay. So the first place that we went to after, actually the first night was just a little bit, very close. We went to a little bay and put overnight. One of the reasons we wanted to do this is because I've only sailed in here, Sophie's only sailed on lakes and freshwater. And so neither of us had dealt with saltwater, tides, and tide currents. And so we wanted to have some experience in that and see what we felt about that. Oops, going the wrong. The sea life is very interesting there. A lot of that but we didn't see a lot on our trip. The wrong season for whales, a little bit early or a little bit late for most of the whales. These little dolphin-type fellas, they live very far up in the sea, so we didn't actually see those. But that's the time of year that we were there. We did see a lot of sea lions all over the place, and pelicans. So, was there a video not there? Right. Okay. Like I said, this is the mountains, and again, it's one of those places where you can keep taking pictures over and over again because it's spectacular and spectacular again and spectacular again. Where we were in most of the time, we were going up the inner coast of there. We weren't ever out into the bigger part of the Sea of Cortez. We were always in a more sheltered area. And we went up. There's a prevailing northeasterlies, and that are there most of the time. And so we anchored on bays on the west side of the land all the time. And the anchoring was really easy. We did have to take into account the tides for anchoring. Look at the time. We did have a tide table, but the only tide table that was available in the whole region was actually for the town of La Paz, which is not close to any of those places and not really representative of any of those places. So you had to do a little bit of fiddling with where you were and make sure that you had enough depth. But there was always a lot of depth, and the anchorages were large and flat bottom sand, so it was actually very, very easy. Okay, so we anchored in this area twice, which I believe we have a picture of, we'll show you. And we anchored there on the way up, and we anchored there on the way back as well. We also anchored in this bay one evening as well. Yeah. This one, as you see from the pictures, it's a little bit of a trick. When you go in, it looks like there's a sandbar all the way across. As you get a little bit closer, you realize there's a shallow passage in between. Not anything we would have been able to do. That's what I was talking about, the winds. And that's the area that I was talking about where we stopped. There were lots of little fishing shacks in there. There is a very, for that part of the world, there's a very famous sea lion colony. There's these little rocky islands and a couple of attached ones. It's a very common place for tourists to go. And some people go there just to go with the sea lions, and some people actually have excursions where they swim with the sea lions. We didn't do that, but other people did. You have to have a special permission for your tour company to be able to do that, which we didn't. But our captain, very experienced in the area, and he knew where to go in and get very, very close to the sea lions. So we were right, basically. They were right down there. The colony is interesting because there's like a place where mothers and babies are, and then there's other places where the other adults are, and it's very, very noisy. I have to show this little island that we went to, where you see people anchoring there, was basically most of a day's sail from the other location I just showed you. So there's a long sail where we went there, and that was a time where our instructor, our captain, basically, did a lot of teaching and letting us sail for basically as long as we were comfortable sailing. He was very good figuring out our skill level and letting us do whatever we were within. I'd be asking him if you decided to do something like a course change. I'd always ask him, but he'd sort of look at me and say, you know, you're the captain right now, so make your decision. But he was always keeping an eye on us, but we were in a very large area of open water. So there's not, wouldn't be easy to get in trouble quickly. This is, I didn't mention, La Paz is the capital of the southern province of Baja. So it's a big town or big city, and that area where you saw us on the little pedal cars, that waterfront walk called Malison, that's very, very long. It's probably about 5K long. So it's a big. It is a commercial port. So there's a lot of things coming from mainland Mexico. A lot of goods get delivered from mainland Mexico to there. So there was a little bit of big ferry traffic and a little bit of container ship traffic that we saw, but not very much. Yeah. So again, like I say, Mountainous Desert, we didn't go on land very much. The only place we went on land was that little island that we just looked at, where we went for a big hike on it, and it's for hiking. It's bigger than it looks. It's not a very big one, but it was a challenging hike. This again is we're on our way back for this one, and we did anchor at this other bay, and did some swimming there.
Oh, go back one. Go back one.
Yeah.
Just mention about.
Oh, yeah. So we didn't do like I said, we didn't do the sea lion swimming. Other people were swimming with the sea lions, and into the beach for a little walk on the beach. We brought our masks and snorkels. They would have been provided if you didn't bring them. There were some other things we could have hooked up to his Wi-Fi, to his Starlink, and would have brought a stand-up paddleboard as well, but we just took our snorkels and did some swimming. It's big.
Yeah.
It's your thing.
Yeah, I want to say something about that.
Yeah.
About the swim to the beach. So you're in your boat, and then you're anchored, and then you're like, oh, this beach looks beautiful. I want to go and swim. And so you jump in the water and you start swimming towards the beach, but you thought it was close. It isn't. and I'm like swimming, and I'm swimming, and I'm like, whoa, that's way further than I thought. And there's some current, some kind of the wave and everything makes it hard. So I swam way more than I thought. So you arrive at the beach and like, I'm gonna tam there forever. But you're on the beach and you're thinking, how is it gonna be when the waves start to move differently? Is it gonna be harder or easier? And double checking, you're saying, okay, let's go now before it's worse. So I went back, but this is really, really, really something I did not calculate. It took a lot of strength to go from your boat to the beach just like that. You have to calculate that. So it was positive. At the end, I just went on the boat and I was really tired. My exercise of the day was done, but that was something. You went snorkel. It went well, right?
Yep.
And you saw a lot of, we have a lot of movies about the fish that he saw. Single handling attack. Yeah, the teacher was always doing things for teaching, but also he was doing things that he didn't meant necessarily to teach us. But once I saw him single tacking the 46 feet boat. And then what he did, I observed, he said he did touch the thing 11 times, and then he started and he did the move, right? And I look at that and said, I want to do that. And I said that, and he said, yeah, go ahead. And I did, and I replicate exactly what he did. That was fun. So that was not part of the course, but I really liked just challenging myself and do it. So I did single tack, and yeah. One other thing I would say about this experience is a lot of reading, because we had 3 books. It's coming up? Okay. Just a second. I need the thing. Yeah, that's after. We're done with the sailing, and we went back to Cabo. And that's the water, how clear it is. And this is beautiful in Cabo, swimming there, the mountain around it. So, yeah, so we're ending up to the conclusion. Did we do it too fast, or are we on time? Yeah? Okay. So one of the things, I'm going to say what I say, and then after I'm going to look at this. Yeah. So the books. You buy 3 books in advance. You have to read the book, and then you go on board for 5 days, and you have 3 exams. I'm Francophone. Those books are great. They're better made than the Canadian one. Less boring, more like a magazine style. They're fun to read, but it's still a lot of English to read, right? So I read before the course, I read the one that I already passed in Canada easily. I read the other one half, and then I went on board. So during the trip, there's a lot of time I was spending on reading my book, reviewing the knowledge, testing my knowledge, as much as practicing. We were doing the tests, also practice. There was a experience test and a writing test, and I did succeed them all. So as a Francophone, I think it's pretty good. If I can do it, you can do it. Yeah. It was a bit demanding, 5 days to do all that. Would I go back just to enjoy? Yes. Would I go back with no tests? Yes. That's for sure. I would go back longer too, because it's unbelievable. This place is I put all my experience as a sailor, like all the racing here and there I did, and all the sailing. This combined everything. It was the best experience of sailing I did, I would say. Just a little bit too crunch in 5 days. The boat, quality of the boat, rental boat. When we arrived, there was no ladder. I insist to have a ladder. There was things, it was not a new boat. It was a rental boat. It's damaged quite. So there was things like that, like our bedroom was cracking. The bed was cracking a lot.
What were we just saying? Sorry. If it was a horse, you'd say it was ridden hard and put away wet. Wasn't well taken care of, but everything worked.
Everything worked.
If you do the three levels of the training, the last course was about bareboat sailing and inspecting your boat before you take it out. You wouldn't have taken that boat out. Its dock lines were bad. I forgot about the ladder. The winches need service badly.
Yeah, like that. I know how to
It was
do that.
much harder to pull the lines than it should have been, and things like that. But the pros are really good. This guy, like Sophie mentioned, he's one of these big adventure guys. He did row across the Atlantic. He did kayak the whole length of Mexico. The whole western coast of Mexico is a fundraiser and things like that. So he's good, very, very experienced. He did we learned some skills, some things that we didn't know for sure, and tidied up some stuff. He was very conscious of wanting us all to return home with all of our fingers, so he wanted us to be very careful around the winches. And winch technique was one thing he kept hammering at us about over and over again. So he's very good about that. It wasn't you took it off, but the this was part of the adventure started before the adventure because I had turned these guys up accidentally from a Facebook ad, and their webpage was really nice, and I looked at it and said, that's interesting, and I just put it in the back of my head. And then that fall, when we were sort of got itchy to do something, we didn't have any plan, and I showed this to Sophie. She was initially nervous about it, and then she sort of came back to me not long after and said, let's look into it more. So we did look into it more, and so once we decided we were going to do it, I've never done an international bank transfer before, which was interesting because it's $2,000 US each for the 5 nights and 6 days, with all the provisioning covered. So there was tons of food on board, tons and tons of food. We didn't come close to putting a dent in the amount of food that was on board. And so we didn't have to, so that's a good price for what we got. I realized after I had sent the money to them that I knew their name, and that he had a bank in Manhattan, and that the school was in La Paz, and I realized that they didn't know anything other than our first names. So they didn't know. So Ken and Sophie sent $4,000 USA to people we never met before. Everything obviously worked out fine, but after I did the bank transfer, I was thinking like, oh, what was that? And I guess you probably figured out, we did, as Sophie said, the 3 levels in the 5 days is hard. The first level's exactly the same. The ASA levels are all based on the Canadian program. So the ASA has sort of built their program off the Canadian program about 20 plus years ago, and they've diverged a little bit since then, but the basic contents are the same. And Sophie said, and their instruction books are much nicer and much easier to read and much better illustrations and stuff. But you got to do all the same materials, and you got to do all of the same boating skills, basically. So those 3 levels are the same as the 3 Canadian levels. And so it's a lot of material. I had just actually done my Canadian one in October before we went. So I was going to do it before we decided to do this. So I had just done, so I'd done the 2 of them, one after the other.
Which level was that? The Canadian?
The one, whatever the first one's called, I'm not getting.
Elementary 101.
No, they call it 101. They call it 101, but
Here we call it, what is it? Basic.
basic. It's a basic, yeah.
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 So that's the same. I did it in French in Elmer, but
Yeah.
that was exactly the same. He did it here with advantage boating. And when we arrived there, the 101 was the same. Okay?
Biggest problem is getting there.
Are we done?
It's far. It's much farther than going straight to the Caribbean. That's for sure. Okay.
So if there are any questions tonight, I ask people to step up to the floor mic. It just means that we can record your question, and it will be part of the recording that's available online.
There's one thing else I want to say. I'm a big fan of doing bread and yogurt, and on board I tried to do yogurt in that trip. It did not work. Was quite disappointed, but exactly, there's too much vibration. So that's why. It did not work. The culture did not. So, but I tried. Whoever likes doing yogurt, it's not possible on the sea.
Thanks for sharing that. Sounded like a good trip. I was in La Paz in '85, and the airport was right there in La Paz. And then we had to take a taxi into Cabo. But now they fly into Cabo, and you got to take it. Did you take a taxi back? That's my question.
We flew to the San Juan del Cabo airport. We could see that airport in La Paz across from the town.
Yeah.
We saw planes, but we didn't fly to there. We looked at it. It would have been much, much, much more expensive to get that. There wasn't as much choice, and it was much more expensive. There was a possibility to go from Toronto to Mexico to La Paz, but it would have been it's like $1,000 more each.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's much more expensive. So we did. So the school recommended a shuttle from the airport to La Paz, and that worked out very well.
Yeah, it was like a little bus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, minibus. Yeah.
And it was about 30 US. So that was better than 1,000. And it also gave you the chance to see some local, and it's part of the experience, I would say.
Hi.
Hi.
Did you find that it was very busy, like in the route that you were on?
For sailing or for?
For sailing, yeah.
For sailing? No, actually, I felt like we were alone.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like you, every anchorage, it was like you were the only boat there, basically.
You remember the San Francisco beach? That was a bit more busy. We play around with the dinghy there, and I felt like I was more like in a tourist area. That was my impression. There was a lot of people there.
Yeah, that place where there's the two islands that has this look that they're connected, but they're not really connected. We stopped there 2 nights. That was the sort of busiest spot that we were at, which means there probably would have been more than 12, less than 20 boats. There were a couple of big boats in there. There was a couple of big power boats in there, but there was plenty of room for everybody.
And that was like the Caleta Partida, right? Is it
Yeah.
that area? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
that-
have
most of the other ones had none or 1 or 2 other ones in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So relatively.
There's a lot of
Yeah.
there's a lot of little bays. We had one where we actually were going to stay, but the weather turned, and the wind was coming from the northwest instead of the northeast, and the one that we were in would have been very, very exposed. So we beat it out of there and went back up to that same one again, because it's basically, they said it's a crater of an old volcano, and it's steep sides, and there's only one bad way for the wind to come in, that it didn't really come in. It's very, very, very protected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting that impression as well. I had another question about the tides. So you mentioned the tides. What was the biggest difference, or like was it significant, or?
It wasn't noticeable at
Yeah,
all. It
okay.
was just something we had to take into account for anchoring. That's all. And it was, we just had to sort of do it. And like I said, because the tides were for La Paz, and we were not close to La Paz. Really, La Paz is down a long, long channel from the open water. So it wasn't really representative, so we'd have to sort of figure out where we were. That's part of the coursework, so it's a good little exercise. So we had to do a little bit of math and make sure that we were going to be okay for our bottom with the boat, and that we had the right amount of chain out. So it was good. Yeah.
There
Good
was,
little exercise.
There was one night that we got the feeling of the tide all night.
Yeah.
One night like that, and I think it's our position, or not sure exactly what was the cause, but the boat was literally doing that all night. So,
But one night, that's
Well,
pretty good.
that was on our way back, and we didn't have, again, the wind was coming from the other direction. The little bay that we went into looked like it should be okay for the night, and it actually was calm when we put out the anchor, but the wind picked up overnight coming from exactly the wrong way. So the boat didn't move or anything. I think one of our neighbors did, but it was unpleasant. That's all.
Yeah. Great. Thank you very much.
Okay.
any other question, serious or silly?
Thanks for sharing. My question is, what's next? You shared your trip and you said you would go back. So I'm really curious to see if you'll do it differently, or will you be doing another course, or would you expect to rent a boat there and just do it on your own? What's next?
I think I have a different point of view of my husband on that. But I will.
Sophie
never
first,
Never
and
happened.
after.
But I'll talk for myself. For me, during all the trip, I was not scared at all, zero. That was surprising because at first I thought that it was scary to go on an open water. So one thing though that I realized is that all the years I was sailing for racing, I was never scared. So I was trying to find why I am scared sometimes with my own boat. And I think it's just owning the boat. You have the responsibility that goes with, and it brings some fear. So with having the instructor on board, I was not afraid at all. So I think it's a combination of trusting myself and trusting us as renting a boat and go with that. So that's me. So would I go? I'm not sure. But part of me want more.
Yeah.
Part of me likes sailing in a lake, but I'm ready for something more. So yeah, I will definitely plan something else. I just don't know exactly the form that it will take. I really like that place. I would like to go back there. And also Greece is something that I'm attracted to it. So don't know. I'm there. You want to answer your way.
Oh, yeah, well, I wouldn't say a whole lot. There was a really, really nice, little bit smaller Beneteau. Same company, a couple of slips down that was like, oh, that'll be fun. And it would be fun. It's a beautiful place. There's tons and tons of sailing that you can do there. Would I go back there? I have to put it again. I wouldn't not, but there's a lot of other places to check out as well.
For sure.
So it's good. We had that, somebody said about the busyness. Was it about the busyness in the boat?
Mm-hmm.
So different than sailing inland on a lake and stuff like that. You're not tacking very often when you're there. You set it and you leave it for a long time, and then you do it. So it's a very different kind of thing. We never did open water like that, and you see people who do that, and it's a different kind of thing. The busyness was the course. You had to do a lot of studying to get all that in. Everybody passed all 3 levels, no problem. But it was that part. That's why I say, without the course would be really nice.
So with your 4 levels now, you'll be able to rent a boat about anywhere in Greece or in another.
I guess so. We don't have that
open water?
I forget what it's called, that international certificate for rent that they want for rental in some place. Yeah, so we don't have that.
Sorry.
We're missing one.
Yep.
Yeah.
For doing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Just a little side note, I've done flotilla sailing in Greece 3 times.
Yeah.
And that's where you have basically one lead boat, and you get a daily briefing about, where the winds are and what to look out for, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
But then you head off in the morning and you're sailing on your own boat.
Yeah.
And so
I
that's,
enjoy that.
that's something I would certainly recommend.
Yeah.
And I've explored that, and basically I sent one of the companies my sailing resume, and even though I didn't have the official paperwork, they said, yes, we'd be very happy to loan a boat to you.
Cool.
Yeah, okay.
Good to know.
Anyways, sorry.
I'll just mention that Advantage Boating supports you getting your international certificate.
Yeah,
So you can get your international certification with
Yes.
Advantage, yeah.
yes, sorry, I'd forgotten that.
Thank you.
So, a little token of our appreciation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure.
Okay.
Thank you.